What's up, everybody? Welcome to the CanesInSight podcast powered by Anijar and Levine Accident Attorneys. A lot to talk about today. We're going to break down quotes from coaches, players, talking about the Cal game, talking about where this program is. A lot of interesting things coming out. Also going to break down whether Cam Ward, through 5 games, is having the greatest season in quarterback history. What's the pace looking like? Is this the one? We will look into that. First, I want to talk about some folks that are always on point with the numbers. That's Anijar and Levine Accident Attorneys. If you or someone you care about has been injured in an accident, you could be entitled to significant compensation. 1-800-747-FREE, 1-800-747-3733. Take back control of your life with Anijar and Levine. Pete, hop in.
What's going on, D? How you doing?
Good, man. Just been working on some stuff for the university that I think people are going to be excited about. Should get a debut tomorrow, Wednesday. Then we'll be flying out to Cal. The show will be rolling every day, as always. I know we'll do the show with Mike Ryan tomorrow live here in studio. That's going to be a lot of fun. Pete, you got some stuff cooked up. We'll talk to some Cal people, figure out what's going on with this game. But keep on rolling.
We'll be talking as we normally do. You'll be headed out of town, but I'll be doing the normal pregame show that we do, the preview show, I should say, with the opposition. Had a great one last week with Scott Roche for Virginia Tech there. And today's show, as you mentioned in the beginning, I did some deep stat dives. I had to go into some old box scores, handwritten statistics and things of that nature, comparing Cam Ward's start to some of the other great quarterback starts through 5 games at Miami. Before we get into that, wanted to get into yesterday's Mario Cristobal show that is done there on campus with Joe Zagacki and Don Bailey Jr. Some interesting nuggets of information. I always think that those are great. It's about a 30-minute show, and Coach, he's not going to always give away too much, but some interesting comments there. And we'll start with this first one here. We mentioned multiple times the great play, of course, by Riley Williams. Obviously, Cam Ward made an amazing play, alluding to pressures there. But Coach Cristobal made a good point that I didn't even thought of, which was the fact that Riley Williams was able to secure the football, didn't try to dive at the goal line. And I'll let him explain here, that play.
Perfect example of redeeming yourself, because on that play, he's in protection, him and Francis, and we get beat. We get beat in protection, but they both stay alive, and Cam's able to sling the defensive end off of himself, and Riley gets up off the ground and stays alive. And Cam's always going to try to keep plays alive and extend them. He gets it to Riley. Great job with the stiff arm, actually almost threw like a fake stiff arm to the air, thinking the guy was right behind him. And what's really important too, that gets lost, a lot of guys would probably reach the ball out to score. Unless it's the last play of the game, you don't do that. He did exactly what he's supposed to. He secured the ball. He got as much as he could. He tried to get in the end zone, but secured the football. Because so many times you see that ball extended, knocked out, and it goes the other way. So really proud of his effort.
So interesting point there by Coach Cristobal. We were all excited, obviously, watching that play, and we mentioned how heads up it was of Riley Williams to get himself off the ground and go out there and advance the ball forward. But I hadn't even thought about the fact that, because when you're watching it live, you want him to score, right? You want him to try to reach over the end zone there. But smart play by him. And I think those are the sorts of plays that Coach Cristobal is ingraining in this roster.
Yeah, I think he's just got a huge future. Riley Williams, talk about impact guy. You lose Arroyo this year, who's to me one of the best tight ends in the country, if not the best. I think Riley Williams is going to be a similar caliber if he keeps developing. He's bigger than Arroyo. He's a natural receiver, just like Arroyo was. You watch his highlights in high school, just like Arroyo. They're not tight ends that catch, one ball a game and then you're converted into receivers in college, which you see a lot. These are guys that are very, very prolific receivers. I think Riley Williams had a 1,000-yard season up in Oregon. So these are guys that have caught the ball prolifically in high school. Translates to college. They also have size. Riley Williams is even bigger. You saw his ability to run here. You saw the heads up play and his blocking. I know he got beat on that particular play, just wasn't really on balance when Caleb Spencer came for him. But I've seen this guy in line. If you watch him in line in some of these games, he can overwhelm people with his size and his effort. So he's someone I think the arrow's trending up. And you're talking about potentially NFL tight ends back-to-back. If you include Elijah Lofton, back-to-back-to-back. Early, they got to make it happen, but we've seen these guys before. whether it's Will Mallory, Brevin Jordan, Njoku, and of course, all the greats that preceded them. You know what it looks like? This guy looks like the next up as far as an NFL tight end from the University of Miami.
Next clip I'm going to play here. Coach Cristobal is very familiar with head coach Justin Wilcox and Cal. Of course, played them over there at Oregon. And Cristobal said a few times, not only in yesterday's show, but in the press conference, that he has a ton of respect for the program. It seemed like always battled Oregon over there. Cristobal's 2-1 against Wilcox, always had close games with him. But it's funny because he said that Cal always gave them their toughest games at Oregon. So obviously we'll see what happens this week. But here's the clip from Coach Cristobal talking about that Cal program.
Physical and discipline is what they are. They don't get fooled. They don't get faked out. They're very they know their scheme inside out, and they're very technically and fundamentally sound. And when you combine that with high-level talent, you have great performance on defense, and they've done that at a high level. I think the difference this year is that their offense is also performing at a really high level. And having coached out there at Oregon for 4 or 5 years, you know, Cal was always the team that was the most challenging in several aspects. And it was due to not only the caliber of player they had, but their scheme and the caliber of coaching they received. You know, Coach Wilcox and company have always done a great job preparing those.
And it's interesting, D, because in today's era of college football where there's so much coaching turnover, Wilcox has been there since 2017, right? And that program has seen really tough times. Obviously, it started out really well this year. Tough loss against Florida State in Tallahassee, but beating Auburn on the road, and now with an opportunity against a top 10 team at home in Miami. But obviously, Coach Cristobal has a ton of respect for what he's built over there.
Yeah, and I think that's the reason the spread is as low as it is because, among other things, bookmakers are looking at what Cal has done against Mario Cristobal team in the past. He talked about it. That's true. That's supported by the numbers. Lost once outright, 2 close games, dogfights. They matched the physicality. I mean, everything he said is true. You know, Mario will pump up the opposing teams. That's just what coaches do. But he's not lying about that. I think the offense is well behind when it comes to the pass rush. We'll dive into the game fully as the week goes on. Certainly the weakness of Cal's ability to protect the passer and the ability to make explosive plays. But defensively, very sound. And they turn the ball over. They take the ball away from the other team. So the challenge for Miami, among others, is protecting the ball, because Cal doesn't run a lot of plays, meaning they have a much slower pace. It's not like USF where if they score, you get the ball right back and you know they're going to get the ball to you because they run so many plays at such a fast pace. Cal will bleed the clock and run a slow game. It's like those little Virginia games where Miami would be playing a dogfight with Virginia. You look at the scoreboard, you're like, man, there's like 5 minutes left in this game. Cal's kind of like that. So you got to protect the ball. You got to take advantage of opportunities on third down, red zone, and you got to get off the field on defense.
And then this last clip here, I know you'll be a fan of this one because he was asked about Dylan Day and his impact on special teams coverage. And then, of course, goes and shouts out a bunch of other young guys who have been making an impact out there. And we've said time and time again that for Miami to get back, right, you're going to see it on special teams in the second and third units pretty quickly, right? And we saw over the first 4 games that was definitely the case, right? I think the depth was tested a bit last week against Virginia Tech when guys went down. But here's Coach Cristobal talking about some of the young guys. And again, the question was asked about Dylan Day here and the special teams unit.
Yeah, so really proud of him. He is an excellent football player, and he is just growing and getting better and developing. He's had a massive impact on special teams. He's joined by Darius Hayes, who's done a great job on special teams. Bobby Pruitt done a great job on special teams. Bobby Washington, right? Man, he's a game changer, for us. All those guys, and then there's more. There's more in there that are doing a bunch of really, really good things. Our special teams is continuing to improve, and I think they're taking a lot of pride in that.
And let me tell you, D, there was some talk about the special teams coach, Danny Coulter, before the season, saying if he's qualified or not. And I got on here saying, look, just everyone calm down. The special teams unit has been really solid the last couple of years, and he was in charge of it, although he didn't have that title just yet. Obviously, we know the kicking game. Chris Johnson almost busted one the other day for a touchdown, and he also mentioned in this interview how they were prepared for that squib kick, and that kind of set him up for that return. And then, of course, set the Canes up for that field goal before half. But really encouraging, I think. Talk about Dylan Day as a guy that you were very excited about. got nicked up a little. Was it in spring that he had gotten nicked up late in spring that maybe, held him up a little bit from seeing the field in terms of, scrimmage plays. But what a great sign, some of these young guys that he's mentioning.
No question. Coach Coulter does a great job. Clean performances. You kind of notice the special teams coach when things go awry. So you haven't noticed them, a good sign. I think recruiting, you're seeing on special teams, physical, fast guys. He mentioned Bobby Washington, who's as fast and physical as anybody. He runs down there and points to people when he knocks them out. Pruitt, very physical from the state of Alabama. Darius Hayes from Largo, Florida, the big two-down linebacker evolving into a 3-down linebacker, just a big run-stopping thumper. And then the guy you mentioned, Dylan Day from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So LSU usually gets what they want in Louisiana, but sometimes they just, they don't recruit everybody. They miss on guys. That's happened before, and it'll happen again. Same thing with Alabama. Miami's gotten players out of there recently. Dylan Day is a guy who can play corner. He can play nickel. He can play safety. He was very, very fast. Really, really fast 200-meter sprinter. Had some very good verified testing. Had height. You see him as the gunner, knocking people out. He's physical. Had a lot of plays. Dominated in Louisiana. Competition's not the best, but they're the best team in that division. And he's a guy that returns kicks, interceptions at that level, was just an impact player, then tested well and had length and versatility. So when you put it all together, he could be a guy that Louisiana State looks back on and says, how do we let this guy leave? Because the traits, the mindset, which you're seeing on special teams, and the versatility, Miami needs young talent in the secondary. OJ Frederick was a huge find. They're starting corner for the next 3 years. Zaquan Patterson, you saw him play meaningful crunch time snaps against Virginia Tech due to some injuries. Dylan Day, I think, is next up as far as a young defensive back that's really knocking on the door.
Now, before we transition into Cam Ward's start and comparing it to some of the greats in Miami history, a clip going around from our boy Gio Milian here on Twitter that he shared. I don't know if it was yesterday or earlier today, but man, Canes fans have no problem getting riled up about opposition players. But Fernando Mendoza, obviously a Columbus kid, and Coach Cristobal has mentioned how he played high school football with Mendoza's dad, and has a lot of respect for the family and things of that nature. But he was asked about his recruitment over the summer at AC Media Days, and if he felt slighted by Miami. And young man had a very respectful answer here as he shares his thoughts on facing Miami. And this was again over the summer.
For a school like Florida State that I've gotten here at Cal, especially with all support, attention, and just the experience of it. So I really do thank God for everything in that sense. But the one thing I will say is, I know in the past there's been a couple photo shoots, someone that has told me to, like, hey, hold the spear and pretend to break it or put the upside down you. Like, I would never do any of that stuff.
Right.
Like, I respect Florida State although I grew up a UM fan and I was cheering against them.
Yeah.
I grew up, especially with, you see all of it. Dalvin Cook,
right.
James Blackman, and all those Florida State, all those legends, Jameis Winston, and the Miami, in Miami with Brad Kaya, that's someone I used to look up to too. So those two teams I have major respect for, and I'll never do. I know people do the peace sign down for USC and California, or break the spear, or upside down you, but that's something that I would never do just because of the respect they have. And although it was a little bit of a recruiting heartbreak, and I knew it was a part of the process, and I knew I wasn't a 5-star, 4-star kid.
So again, respectful answer there from Fernando Mendoza, and they laid it up for him to basically say, yeah, listen, I want to put 50 on Miami. He didn't do that, and by all accounts, a really good kid. Obviously, want the Canes to get the win this weekend, but cool to see him doing well out there on the West Coast.
Yeah, the Cuban Kirk Cousins, right? The way he kind of answered that question. I was shocked to hear that Manny didn't even offer him a walk-on spot or didn't guarantee him a walk-on spot. That's crazy to me. Look, this was a late blooming player, but he was not an unknown Pete. Pull up the post here. So I seen this guy originally from Belen, went to Columbus, saw him once he got to Columbus. I didn't know him at Belen, but this guy was always a guy with some size and ability, and really made some steps later in his career. As you can see, there's my write-up here back when he was committed to Yale. So you see how smart he is. 6'5", 215, big-bodied pro-style passer, not twitchy, but showed improved ability to throw off platform as a senior, solid arm strength. Numbers are average in run-based offense. Surprised he didn't get more FBS attention given his dimensions, Yale commit. I mean, I think that kind of played out. Obviously, California came in late and gave him that FBS offer. I believe it was his only FBS offer. Ends up going there, starting as a freshman, now going into this Miami game as a real solid quarterback in the ACC with Cal moving over. P, I know you were really studying him in that Auburn game. I mean, what does he look like to you? This is your alma mater.
Yeah, and it's interesting what you said. You said not twitchy, but showed improved ability to throw off platform as a senior. And look, not the most athletic guy in the world, but he was making some throws in the face of pressure, not perfect situations in the pocket, getting hit on the run against Auburn, where I was impressed. I don't think he has a rocket for an arm, but I think at this point you could say he's probably a better version of Emory Williams at this point in his career. He's played more football than Emory Williams has, obviously, but a guy who, look, Miami I think has a really good chance to get pressure in this game. I don't think that's the best offensive line that Cal's throwing out there, but if that pocket is relatively clean, and again, like I said, when he was facing pressure against Auburn, he made some nice throws. We've talked about those third downs with this defense, D, and I think he's a guy who has the ability to keep the chains moving for them.
Yeah, and that's going to be the key for California is they want to keep Miami off the field. They want to stretch this game. They want to bleed that clock. Miami was not very good on third down against Virginia Tech. A lot of long conversions. Virginia Tech completed over 60% of their third downs, and a lot of them were long. So Miami needs to do a much better job against this quarterback. He's not going to be as elusive and as athletic as Kyron Drones as far as making those big plays when Miami has good pressure. But they got to get him down, and they got to get to him before he gets rid of the ball, because he won't beat you with his legs necessarily, but he can beat you with his intellect, just locating the receiver and getting rid of it. Ruben Bain, Tyler Barron, we've been waiting for this moment where both players are on the field at the same time. I think Miami fans will believe it when they see it, but we expect to see him on the field here on Saturday, and those two together is going to be extremely, extremely exciting to watch. And I think this is a good matchup for Ruben Bain to not only really impact the game, but also have a softer landing with some competition at that position that is not the best that he's going to face. But, Pete, Fernando Mendoza, Columbus guy, Cuban, that when he needs Cuban food, he is going to Islas Canarias. Of course, used to be by his old neck of the woods where he went to school out west. Still is out there. Of course, family owns since 1977. If you want to go to the restaurant, that's the best Cuban restaurant in Miami. But if you're in the Dayland area and want something quicker, Islas Canarias Express, right there in the Dayland Dining Pavilion, a.k.a. the food court. Going to have the most people there, the longest line, but it goes fast. It's called Express. It flies fast. It's just the busiest because it's the most popular. It's the best Cuban food in Miami. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. They'll take care of you. And again, if you want the full dining experience, go out west, go to Islas Canarias out there by FIU if you live in that area, if you want the authentic restaurant experience. But if you're in a hurry and you're by the University of Miami and that Dayland area, Islas Canarias Express. Of course, if you want the gear, which I'll be wearing some tomorrow, I'll be wearing the fishing shirt. Go to CanesInSight.com.
All right, D. So as we said at the start of the show, wanted to compare Cam Ward's start. We've seen so much about him winning multiple ACC Player of the Week honors and obviously nationally getting a ton of buzz for this Heisman discussion already, just, a month plus into the season here. But as I pull up this graphic and we take a look at a comparison of Ward right side by side next to some of the greats in Miami history and other players who, have had great starts through 5 games. Obviously, we take a look at things here, and Ward is head and shoulders pretty much above everyone else here.
Yeah, it's an interesting list. I mean, the game has changed so much. To me, the craziest thing is the fact that Bernie Kosar still holds the all-time passing record. That to me is the craziest thing. 1984, which you showed there, 3,642 yards and 25 touchdowns. Obviously, he finished stronger than he started, but the fact that he still holds that record after 40 years is insane. Of course, Cam Ward in a great position to break it, already ahead of that pace, 500 more yards, 12 more touchdowns, 6 less INTs. Gino Toretta really put up some stats here in 92. yardage wise. That caught my attention. Of course, the closest to Cam Ward's pace, Stephen Morris, 2012. That was the year where he threw that bomb to Philip Dorsett against NC State. Really just, 100 so yards behind in terms of the yardage race. Morris cooled down a little bit. We expect Ward to keep it going, but it was interesting to see all this together. I think the game has changed, but Miami has had some prolific quarterbacks over the years and guys that had hot starts. Maybe they didn't finish as strong. Ja'Cory Harris, 2009, Stephen Morris, 2012, kind of ringing bells there.
Yeah, and the thing that sticks out to me is also the interception numbers, because we've nitpicked and talked so much about, and it's not just nitpicking. This is what the next level is looking at when it comes to Cam Ward is protecting the football, and we saw that a bit last week against Virginia Tech. But 4 interceptions here as it stacks up against some of these other numbers here, and only Dorsey had less there with 3. And obviously we know what Dorsey had around him that year. So listen, if this pace holds up, obviously would be the best season in Canes history for a quarterback. But I think he's gonna rewrite these record books, even though it's for one season.
Yeah, TBD, if it was a 4-game comparison, I think it'd be a lot closer. But you see right there, this is the 2023 last season. He had already started slipping. 1,300 yards, 10 touchdowns, 7 picks. That was after that Georgia Tech game. We're rolling into that game. He looked like one of the best quarterbacks in the country, at least the ACC. Of course, had the tough game against Georgia Tech, and the wheels fell off. So we've kind of pushed past that barrier with the Virginia Tech win. Of course, still a ton of ACC football to play, a lot of season to play. But just seeing this visual, I think, brings it to life that, yes, Cam Ward, through 5 games, is having the best season of any Miami quarterback. Of course, no one cares about 5-game sample size. They want to see season. So a game like this, going to Cal, going against a tough defense that is one of the top teams in the country in turnovers, creating interceptions, creating takeaways, that is going to be a major challenge for Cam Ward to keep it going and not only keep these numbers up, but show that he has bounced back from a tough turnover performance against Virginia Tech.
And the one stat I didn't include here, Dia's completion percentage, and Cam Ward's at 70% right now for the season. Stephen Morris, who you said was the closest to him in that NC State game where he threw for 566, was 26 of 45, right? So you're seeing a very efficient performance early on this season from Cam Ward. And I think with a lot of these other guys too, you got to keep those chains moving, and that wasn't always the case. And there's a lot of factors involved in that. But Ward's playmaking, to keep the chains moving with his feet, keep his eyes downfield. The Riley Williams play was a perfect example of that. And look, Morris had the ability to run, but he didn't always use that, right? He was really more of a pocket passer. And you look at the rest of the list here, and Ward is by far the most mobile of the bunch.
No question. Running to throw. Really not a runner on this list. Of course, it's a passing list, so why would there be? But very interesting to see. And I think this game against Cal is going to tell us a lot, because if he is going down that Tyler Van Dyke 2023 pass, you see down there where the turnover started in that Georgia Tech game and didn't stop, they'll continue through Cal, because Cal's one of the best in the country at taking the ball away. So Cam Ward is a clean game, doesn't turn it over. Miami's going to win by a lot, and he'll show that Virginia Tech game was more of a one-off as opposed to a decline like you saw with Tyler Van Dyke last year.
Without a doubt.
So, Pete, when we get to that Miami Hurricane Team Store post of the day, Miami Hurricane Team Store has the Cam Ward authentic jerseys in stock. You can go check them out at MiamiHTS.com. There it is right there. Or the Miami Hurricane Team Store in person next to the Thesis Hotel right in front of campus. You can get the Cam Ward jersey. And the Cam Ward jersey, that money, a lot of money goes to Cam Ward. So we don't want to, that's not a discount item, but pretty much everything else, Insight 20, you get 20% off your first item using promo code INSIGHT, like CanesInSight 20 at the Miami Hurricane Team Store or MiamiHTS.com.
You can get the basketball jersey too, man. Look at this. You get the Cam Ward basketball jersey, which, he played some basketball back in the day, but that's pretty cool.
There it is. Yeah, that is cool. Sure, he's happy about that. I know he's proud of his career as a guard down there in West Columbia, Texas, Brazoria County. But get the jersey and get a hat, get some sandals, get something for your kids. 20% off with with Insight 20 promo code. Also, they got youth sizes on the Cam jersey, so it's not just for adults. All right, so with that, The Miami HTS post of the day, thread of the day, is on CanesInSight.com, 7 million posts and counting for free. This was an interesting post from AGZ, and it actually is quoting a tweet from our buddies at Caneville, who do a great job and had a lot of numbers posted today. So, Pete, I'll let you read the stats here off the tweet.
So the tweet says through 5 games, the Canes have only allowed a total of 6 points in the third quarter, a total of 20 points in the second half in 5 games. And this has been an emphasis for Coach Guidry. He said it in a press conference a few weeks ago that, look, if Miami's up at halftime and they can pitch a third quarter shutout, then they'll probably extend that lead. If they're down in the game, like we saw last week, and, still gave some points up there in the third quarter. But at the end of the day, really that third quarter becomes so pivotal to turning the game around, or, like I said, extending that lead.
Yeah, I think this post drew a lot of reaction. That's why it's the post of the day. I mean, how many pages are on that, Pete? 5 pages of replies already. So that's what happens on CanesInsight.com's free message board. Sign up today. There's a lot of debate. And I think with this post, a lot of people were saying, look, we just came off a performance against Virginia Tech that was not good on defense in any respect, and Virginia Tech was driving for the win late in the game. But the numbers are the numbers. And I think this is a number that Coach Guidry would like to see continue through ACC play, because he does, like you said, Pete, emphasize winning that third quarter, winning that middle late, and just overall making adjustments. He talked about it at length at his press conference last week. He says, look, adjustments are a real thing. There's a debate. Are adjustments real? Are they fake? He said they're a real thing in the context of you try to fix something that you watch film, they do something a little different almost always. You try to adjust that during the first half, but if you can't clean it up during the first half, you go ahead and fix it at halftime. Obviously, Coach Guidry's been doing that. Miami's conditioning, I think, has been coming into play. They haven't left Florida. This is their first time leaving Florida the whole season. So that will be an interesting test going through California, seeing if the conditioning holds up. Obviously, it's not going to be as humid out there, but different environment than I used to. Hopefully, Cal wears down and they're just enjoying that brisk California air and bringing waves of bodies. They're a little nicked up, but I believe that the defense will be overall pretty healthy. And of course, you get Ruben Bain back. So it's going to be an interesting test to go against a Cal team that is hosting game day, that is feeling good. We'll go over all the aspects of the game as the season, or as the week unfolds. But I really have to emphasize getting off the field and being able to prevent Cal from squeezing and bleeding the game out from you, holding onto the ball, running out the clock. They don't want to run a ton of plays. You got to get the ball back. Third down, red zone, always critical, but I think especially critical in a game like this where possessions are at a premium.
And you mentioned Miami getting one of their biggest assets back on the field this week in Ruben Bain, D. So I wanted to shout out our buddies at Asset Dash, the best portfolio tracker and rewards program in crypto, where you can do everything from tracking your investments, earning rewards, and now buying over 1,000 different cryptocurrencies on Solana natively through the app. You can hit that QR code there to scan it and download Asset Dash, all caps Canes at sign up. Again, CANES, Canes, all caps, and you will get an upgraded premium Asset Dash Gold membership for life. This is a limited time offer. Canes, all caps. And again, Asset Dash, you can track all of your needs there, cryptos, NFTs, stocks, you name it, assetdash.com.
Yep, it's going to be fun to watch. The rest, this game in particular, game day, there's been just been a fun season, right? With the Gators starting, you had that Virginia Tech game, which now that you've won, you look back and it was just a fun game to be a part of. Obviously nerve wracking and there's some flaws exposed, but man, it was an instant classic. Now you got game day. A lot of things that you just kind of been dreaming about as a Canes fan are happening this year. Cam Ward, of course, going for the Heisman. A lot of little things. Now you get to see Ruben Bain back and see Bain and Barron together. We've been waiting for this. So just a fun time to be a Canes fan. A lot to talk about. Again, I'll be in Cal. We'll do the show with Mike Ryan tomorrow. The live show. Tune in. I believe that's at 10 a.m. tentatively, right, Pete?
Yeah.
So we'll be early, most likely tomorrow, with the live show with Mike Ryan. So you guys jump in. As always, love your comments and your jokes and your questions and your knocks while we're doing that one. And then Thursday, Friday, Pete will be breaking down the game, the Cal game. He'll have some special guests as well. I'll be out there in Cal. Come see me. Maybe we'll do a live show out there. Who knows? We'll have some fun. But as always, stay tuned to CanesInsight.com. Like and subscribe to this podcast. Go Canes.
Go Canes.
Yeah, this an insight to the Canes, and you know we ain't playing no games. Joaquin said dominate, so that's what we do. Home of the legends and 7th floor crew. Down in Miami where hurricanes brew. You here for the rumors, we bring you the news. Cause it's all about the you, and nobody do it like CanesInSight. 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 It's CanesInSight.